On January 28th, African heads of state drawn from 23 countries signed the African Air Transport Market that seeks to create an open air policy for the African airspace. By signing the charter, member countries are expected to give their peers unfettered access to their airspace without strict conditions. However, Kenya Airways says this agreement is likely to compound its revival strategy.
So any type of subsidy, any type of external support is very closely monitored. So you don't have people who can fly openly, but then they don't have the same business models. And without giving you names, but please make a little check of how are owned most of the main competitors we have in Africa, what type of support and state protection in their market they have. And I consider that Kenya is extremely modern in that respect because we are very open market with, granting access to many airlines to fly into Nairobi. So it's very beneficiary, but we have to be cautious not to put this solution as the ultimate solution if you don't take the whole value chain that is built, in relations between airline, airports, slots, the way it's financed, the way they got their equity.
KQ Chief Executive Sebastian Mikosz says they are studying the full impact of the agreement, which commits African countries to phase out their protectionism policies towards African airlines. Mikosz says the airline, which is majority owned by the Kenyan government with a 49% stake, plans to buy more aircraft to serve its widening network with plans to introduce direct flights to Cape Town and Mauritius.
A direct flight. It's really what the passengers are looking at. And if you take the map of networks in the world and you just take the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, all the tendency is to create point-to-point connections. So people don't go through the hubs, but rather like to use the direct connections. We are here as Kenya Airways.
The airline, which has changed its financial year from end of March to December, posted a net loss of 6.1 billion shillings, blamed on higher fuel cost and the negative impact of a prolonged electioneering period. Mikosz said the full financial impact of the new US route will be felt in 2019, adding he expects a revenue boost of between 8 and 9%.
Kenya Airways is not just a business, and it should not be seen just as a business. Kenya Airways is also, it's part of Kenya's economy. It's a GDP contributor. It brings jobs to Kenya. It brings headquarters to Kenya. So Kenya Airways should be looked at differently and then just a standalone business that for profit or dividend-producing business.
The airline has cut down net losses from 25 billion shillings in 2015 to post an operating profit of 1.3 billion shillings.